Hello. If you're like most people, then getting started in investing can be a bit daunting. After all, you read so much about it in the newspaper, you hear people talk about it in the street. But at the end of the day, how do you actually make that first step and overcome perhaps some of the fear of the jargon that awaits you, or the fear that you might not have enough money to get started? We're talking today to Sean Seah, who's part of Singapore Investment Week this year, and he'll be presenting. He's an author of these two books, and he was with us to help answer some of these questions. Hi there, Sean. So first of all, let's get that first question out of the way. I don't have enough money is usually the first objection that people have to investing. Is that still relevant?
I guess that's still relevant today because most people feel that they need a lot of money to invest, which itself is not true. Because I've known people who started investing as little as even $100 just to get them started. And I know some of them who became multi-millionaires just by investing in the stock market, starting from just $100.
But what can you buy with $100? Because the brokerage fee is already $25, right?
That's very good. In fact, for the first year itself, I would recommend that you buy this thing called education. Because starting in investing, you need a certain amount of education. So in fact, for the first year itself, I will not advise you to invest your whole entire net worth or your whole entire savings itself. In fact, if you have more than 10,000 or 100,000, I will still suggest you invest as little as maybe $1,000 or even $100. So $100 can buy you some penny stocks or even one or two stocks in the US market. But more importantly, what you get out of it is the experience, the education that you get from learning from this first year of investing. Right.
Okay, so I almost thought for a moment that you were saying
Yes.
education, the stock, but obviously you mean, what, buying books, attending seminars, or what form does this education take?
In fact, I would say both. So of course, the first initial startup, you will buy some books to read. In fact, Warren Buffett himself, if I remember correctly, he bought the first book in investing called The Intelligent Investor, and that got him kickstarted in investing. So in our local context, of course, my book is a great book, and there are many great books out there. So with $100, you buy certain books, and as well as buy into certain stocks, just to get into the experience of it. I know some of the people, they spend money buying books, attending seminars, but they never ever got started in investing. So in fact, for these people who are waiting for a perfect formula, I would say just take $100, $200, put it into the stock market, buy some stocks, get experience, get started. And that's where the learning begins for some of them.
All right, now let's say we've done that. I guess the second point is that when you read the newspaper, for example, it's all very complicated, and you get the feeling sometimes that you really need an accounting degree in order to make sense of what's going on. Is that, again, still true today?
Okay, maybe I will put it in this way. Of course, there are many information coming at us. There are analyst reports, there are people's opinions.
Financial reports, company disclosures, all of that.
Yes, exactly. We have to first differentiate opinions from facts. And in fact, it will be easier for us if we have a checklist, if we have specific questions we want to ask, and when we dive into the information, it's easier for us. Otherwise, if we do not know what we're looking for, and we let the information come at us, it will be so daunting at times.
Yes. So what should be on the checklist?
So, okay, very good. In fact, for myself, like I mentioned, education is the first thing that we want to take on in investment, because my experience itself, I only had one question on my checklist when I first started investing. And the question was, how much can I get out of this investment? I was just looking on the return on investment. And I got into many bad investments, or even some scams. But after years of studying and of course experience, I will actually advise our audience, maybe I'll just give you three things to look for.
Sure.
And I'll call this the $1 million question. And this, there's an acronym for it, G, S, and T.
GST?
So, yes, correct. When you make $1 million, you have to pay GST. So G, the first question you want to ask is, G, how does this investment as a business generate profits? So G, generating profit. So whenever you look at any investment at all, any stocks, you must look at it as a business. So for example, you buy into BreadTalk, you buy into McDonald's, you buy into, let's say, Viacom, you got to ask, what is this business about? Because this business must generate enough profit to make money before it can return the profit to the investor. We are the investor behind the business.
And sustainably, ideally in a growth industry.
Oh, exactly. That's the second thing on the checklist. G is generate profit. The second one is S, sustainability. Is this business sustainable? Of course, in order to answer that, you must be able to answer the first one. How is it generating profit? And then you've got to make a judgment call. This is something that may scare a lot of people, but I will actually ask you to exercise the decision-making muscle to ask yourself whether this business itself, is it sustainable? And if you can't answer that, it probably goes to show that this business is not within what I call your circle of competence. It's not something that you can understand, not something that you can place a judgment on. Okay, so we got our G, generate profits, S, sustainability. The third one, T, this is something that's going to save a lot of people. It is the track records.
Right.
Okay, so what track records are we looking at? Same thing, back to the first one, generating income. Has the business been generating income predictably and consistently? Okay, that's the keyword, consistently, for the past 10 years. So this is something that we look at. So this is my checklist, GST.
Right, and again, let's say you've done that now.
Yes.
Do you then throw all your money in? Because again, part of the concern that people might have is that on the one hand you want to have a decent exposure so that if it does generate a return, then you can actually, you're not just talking about a couple of dollars.
Correct.
On the other hand, this idea of diversification does require not too many stocks, because after all, if you've got 40 or 50 stocks in your portfolio, you can't possibly, you can't possibly keep track of them all. So where do you find is that nice middle ground?
Okay, I've been reading a lot about it. I've been practicing it myself on portfolio management, because we don't want to put all our money into one stocks. Even the best investments can fail. The best businesses can come down. So we want to go into the right investments, but we want to make sure that we have a sizable amount of stocks to keep us safe. So I would recommend about 15 stocks to 20 stocks. And in fact, I have a friend who said that he will invest into as many stocks as he can, as long as he can monitor it. So for normal investors like us, probably 15 to 20 stocks will be enough. And I will also recommend, if let's say you cannot monitor up to 15 stocks, you should have the index. You should have an index fund in your portfolio, because the index fund itself actually gives you certain amount of diversification, and they also pick some of the best companies.
Well, that's how they get into the index, right?
Yes, correct. So you have the index ETF, and of course, even when I talk about investing into Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire, it itself is like a managed fund. They have the best companies in the world, and you are getting Warren Buffett to work for you, you see. He's actually investing for you. So this is some kind of ways that you can get into some of the best companies, as well as have some form of diversification.
Yes. The only problem with Berkshire Hathaway is that it's tens of thousands of dollars per share, right? So you have to have a little bit of money to start with.
Oh, there's also the baby shares, so we can look into it. Of course, there's a lot of details into it. We have to study into it, understand how it makes money, go back to the GST formula. And you're right, but we got to start investing, and we got to start managing our portfolio.